Hi and welcome back. Now before we start setting Google Analytics up, it's super important that you know that there are two versions of Google Analytics that work in very different ways. First, we have Google Analytics 3, also known as Universal Analytics. Then we have Google Analytics 4. Now the easiest and most common mistake that newcomers make with Google Analytics is to head straight for the latest version. But Google Analytics 4 is not an upgrade of Google Analytics 3. It's just a different model that collects data differently than Google Analytics 3 does, and therefore gives you different reports. So you're probably wondering, what are the differences and how do they work? Well, let's start off with Google Analytics 3, also known as Universal Analytics. Google Analytics 3 tracks data via sessions, which means that every visit on your website, regardless of what page people visit, is counted as a session. So Google Analytics 3 tracks data by using sessions, which means that it's looking at visitors' visits. However, Google Analytics 4 works differently. It tracks data via events, which means that every action people are taking on your website counts as an event. So Google Analytics 4 tracks data by using events, which means that it's looking at visitors' actions. So which version should you choose? Well, you don't need to pick. We will install both versions and make sure that you get as much data as possible, both as sessions and events. But we will only be using Google Analytics 3, and that's because Google Analytics 4 isn't completely ready yet. Even though it's been around since October 2020, it's still not completed and misses out on important reports that Google Analytics 3 has. But because we're installing both versions, you get all the data still collected in it, and as soon as Google Analytics 4 is completed, we can start reading out those reports from the data that we have collected. And we will of course also be updating the course and show you how to do so. So to summarize, there are two versions of Google Analytics, Google Analytics 3 and 4. Google Analytics 3 tracks sessions, while Google Analytics 4 tracks events. And because the fourth version isn't an upgrade of the third, we will install both to make sure that you get all of the data. But we will only be using Google Analytics 3 because Google Analytics 4 is still incomplete and doesn't properly report all of the data. So now that you know how to get the best possible start, I hope you're as excited as me to get right into it. So let's dive right into it and set Google Analytics up properly, and I'll see you in the next lecture.